Is the screen visible to you? Is the screen visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do I have to explain it, or yesterday your doubt was clear over here? So we were stopped at this last part, right? So where we were trying to convert from the double to the byte, isn't it? So when we are trying to convert from the double to the byte, so as I told you that the double value is 323.142. Okay. So before you do the any conversion directly to the byte, first it has to convert it to the integer. So if you are trying to convert this to the integer, the value is going to be round figure, that is only 323, right? So then this value needs to be converted back to the byte now. So how does the computer converts any values to the byte or any integers to the byte? It is going to perform the modulo operation with the value 256. I told you why the value 256 in the last class itself, right? So can anyone tell me what is the result of this? So the
Reminder.
reminder. So what is a reminder? What value will you get if you divide the 323 by 256? What reminder you will get? Try to do that. So it's very simple. It's
One, ma'am. One.
sorry.
One point.
See, you should not go for the decimals over there. So the round figure you need to get whenever you get the any remainder which is not divisible, which is not going to be divisible. So that itself is going to be the result of the modulus operator. So the if you divide 323 by 256, so it is going to be divided by the first multiple only, that is 256 into 1 256 only. So subtract 323 by 256. What value will you get?
67.
67, right? So that itself is the byte result of that double value. So if you are going to convert this double to the this byte value, it is going to be done in this procedure, which is done automatically when you do the type conversion, that is the casting. So what is casting? Casting is the one which you have done already here, like this one. So taking the destination to which you want to convert followed by the value which you want to convert here. So is everyone clear with this example? I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's continue. So automatic type promotion in expression. Suppose in some of the expressions, if you do not go for the type casting explicitly, so whether the Java is going to handle those or not. So yes, the Java will be able to handle such conversions automatically by some rules. So what are the rules here? You can see here there are the 4 rules. The Java defines the several type promotion rules that applies to the expressions. So they are all as follows. So what are the rules here? All the byte, short, and character values are promoted to the integer. Okay. So the before converting to the any other data type, the byte, short, or the character values will be converted to the integer. And if any one of the operand is long, the whole expression is promoted to the long. And if any one operand is the float, the entire expression is promoted to the float. And if any operand is the double, the result is going to be double. So what does all these rules are going to indicate here? So whichever the expression that you consider, the largest data type, the one which has the largest data type, so that to that data type, the rest of the expressions will be converted here. So as in this example, you can see here, A is of the byte, B is also the byte type, C is also the byte type, which have the certain values here, right? So then you can see here the integer D has been taken over here. So next the expression has been considered as A into B divided by C. So what does this is going to do? Instead of calculating it into the byte terms, first everything will be converted to the integer, and then it will be stored into the value D here. Right. So similarly, there is a one more example over here. So if you concentrate on the line by line over here, so to the all the variables to analyze the what kind of data type has been considered here. So B byte, C character, S short, I integer, F float, and D double. So finally, the result is also in the double. So you can see the various expression has been taken here. So according to this rules, whatever has been given here, first the rest of the integer values will be converted to that respective data types, then the result will be stored here. I'm not going to explain it in detail, so it is just for your information that how does the Java is going to handle if you are going to consider the different values with the different data types when it is going to be used as in a expression. Okay. So coming to the next concept from this chapter is the arrays, the most important one, right? So what is an array? Does anyone remember? You might have come across with this data type in any other programming languages as well, whichever you might have studied, right? So what is an array, or when do you require to use the array? What is an array?
When we want to store the multiple values.
When you want to store the multiple values, right? So what kind of values you can store in the arrays? When you say the multiple values, do you mean to say that different kinds of the data types can be stored into a single array?
Same data type, ma'am.
Same data type, right? So when you have the same data type values, the series of the values in a particular order to be stored in a one data structure, that is said to be as an array over there, right? So array can be one dimensional array can be two dimensional arrays, array can also be the multi-dimensional as well, right? So first we will see what is a syntax that is required for defining the array, right? So to declare a variable of the type array, you need to first take the type of which you want to create the array, that is whether you want to create the integer, whether you want to create the float, double, character, whichever. So that type has to be first mentioned, followed by the space and the name of your choice for the variable, and followed by the square bracket and the semicolon. So this is the syntax that is used to create the array. So please note down this. So please note down the syntax and then followed by this example, right? So you can see here the type is integer. Here I want to create the arrays of the integers, and the variable name is month underscore days, followed by the square bracket and the semicolon, right? So this what does it is going to do? It is going to just create this variable array of the type integer. So array variable named as a month days of the integer has been created when you use this statement as a execution, right? But this is not going to store any values. You are not able to store any values over here. So this statement is only to create the variable array variable of the type integer. Then how you can start storing, or how to put the size, or how to get the size of the array, size in the sense to tell how many elements you want to store into that array. So how to do that? For that you require the new keyword here. So once again note down this syntax as well. So once you have declared the variable, or else once you have created the variable, so that variable you take, use the equal to symbol and use the new keyword and the type of which you want to create, of which you have created the array, or the size. So this is the another way, or this is the direct statement that you can take in order to create the array by considering some size here. So the same example has been repeated here. This is going to only create the variable, whereas you have not mentioned the size over here, in which you cannot store any values, right? So the another best way is, the most advanced way is, take the variable name equal to the new keyword and followed by the type of which you want to create the array, and within the square bracket you can mention the size of the array, that is how many elements that you want to store into this array. So this example is going to take as month underscore days is an array of integer type which can store the 12 values, not mandatorily to store the 12 values completely, but it has the size of storing the 12 elements in it, 12 integer values in it. Right. So you can see here the example has been demonstrated here to explain you regarding how you can use the array and how you can store the values here over here. Right. So though you might have come across with the array in the any programming language, So the purpose of using the array and the intention of using the array is going to remain same in any programming language. But again, where does it is going to make difference is with the syntax and with the how you are going to store the values, right? So that you need to put a little concentration on that, and you can little bit practice on it, so that you get used to these all these syntaxes of the Java here, right? So the class has been started and the main function. So you can see here int month underscore days of this is going to create the array. So this method has been used here. So here we have not mentioned the any size. So here it is going to create only the month underscore days as an array variable. So in the next case, you can see here you are going to put the size, or you are going to create make it to restrict to the some size of an array here 12, right? So then how to store the values, all of you know about the arrays, right? So always the arrays are identified with the respective index value. See, just tell me how many of you are have completely forgotten about the arrays that you have so far studied in any other programming languages? Because assuming that you have little bit knowledge of the arrays, I'm explaining here with this example. But if you have forgotten everything about the arrays, so then it might be quite difficult for you to understand over here also. But let me know how many of you are, have the confusion about the arrays, who needs still more detailed explanation about the arrays here.
Explain in detail, ma'am.
Explanation in detail, okay. Okay, so I'll take a very simple example over here. So int a is an array, right? So a is equal to new. Ignore about the case sensitivity here. Okay. So new int of 5. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here, okay. So what I'm trying to do here, I am trying to create an array of the integer type, and how many elements that I want to store into this array is 5. Right. So now how this actually will be implemented, or how actually the values will be stored, and how the addressing concept is going to be used for these arrays by the computer, right? So that is done with the term known as the index value, which is assigned to the every element that is stored into an array. Here I'll show you. Okay. So this is the array A. Okay. So this is the index value 0. This is the index value 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right. So one more thing that you need to remember in the array is always the index value is going to, always the index value by default it will begin with the 0 here, and it is going to end with the n minus 1. Suppose if we have the 5 elements to be stored here, so the last value will be stored with the n minus 1, in the sense one value less to the size that you have taken. Why? Because the index value is going to begin with the 0 here. Okay. So when you are start storing the any values into the array, so how you will be able to store it? So you have to start storing with a specific index value, that is a of 0. Okay, suppose if I want to store 22 in it. Okay. So the next element is a of 1. which is any value. Randomly I'm taking the values here. A of 2, A of 3, and A of 4. Okay, so this is how you will be able to store. Once you use these statements, so A of 0 in the sense this is the array A, right? So this entire structure is A. So A of 0 in the sense 22 will be stored here, and 56 will be stored here, 34 will be stored here, and 45 is stored at the third position, and the last value is stored at the fourth position, right? So when you use these statements, this is how the structure is going to be framed, and this is how the elements into the array will be stored with a specific index value. So these are termed as the index values of the array, right? So when you store them with a specific index value, only at that location all the values will be stored, right? So how you will be able to, once you have stored the values into the array, how you will be able to access the values? The values will be again accessed with the specific index value only. For example, if you want to access the third value, right? But the third value is stored at the which index position?
2.
2, right? So you can get that directly over here, like A of 2. So if you try to print the A of 2, then it will fetch this value. Okay. So similarly, if you want to fetch the last value, then it is identified with the A of 4 here. Okay, so this is how the arrays will be created, and this is how the values will be assigned. So do remember that the index values, you are not going to explicitly create the any index values. Once you create this statement, so once you create these statements, automatically the A array will be created with the 4 indices values here. So each is going to be, each index value will be assigned to the each of the element that you store accordingly in the order. That is the first, always the first value will be stored at the index value 0, second value will be stored at the index value 1, third at the 2, and so on up to the last value, that is the one value less to the size that you have taken here. So how to access them? The accessing back the elements is also going to be the same with the index value here. Okay, so is it clear to you? Those who are having little bit confusion, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, so coming to this example here, so the same thing has been done. Whatever I have explained there, using only the 5 as a size and the name of the array being A, here they have taken the array variable as a month underscore days followed by the size as a 12 here. So that means the you can store how many elements into it? 12 elements. But from which index value it is going to begin? Is 0 till 11, right? So one value less to that. So these all are the values that has been stored into these arrays here. Okay, so what they are trying to print out here, they are trying to print the third value, that is with the array which has the third. So what is the value over here?
30.
30. Okay, so let's run and see this example. I hope you people are practicing the code.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is how first you need to set the path to the folder where you have saved the files. Then only you'll be able to compile and run your program. Okay, so how to do that? So by default, if you run the command prompt, it will be pointing to the C drive. First, you need to switch to the drive where you have created your folder. I have created into the E drive, so I have switching to the E drive. How to switch to the drive? So name of the drive followed by the colon will get you to the drive, and then once you have switched to that drive, using the CD command followed by paste the path to the folder where you have saved the files, and press enter, you will get switched to that particular folder. So what is the command that is used to compile the program?
Java C.
Okay. Java C followed by the
Class name.
File name. It is file name. So I have saved it with the name as a array1.java. So if you have any mistakes or if you have any errors, it is going to show here itself. If you do not have any errors, it is just going to prompt for the next command here. So the name of the command to execute the file is only Java. Okay, so it is showing you the result as a April has a 30 days. So that is what is intended into that program, isn't it? You can see here, at last it is going to print only the array and the third position with the index value at the 3. So the what is the value of the array with the index value 3? It is 30. So the same has been printed here. April has the 30 days. Okay. So this is a very simple and the basic example of the array, just to make you understand that what is the syntax that is used for declaring the array variable and what is the syntax that is used to set for the size to the array here. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So followed to that, you have the 3 more programs to be discussed here. So we'll see those 2 and then we'll continue with the next concept here. Okay. Okay, so this is the one more example. Just to, I hope the every text is clear to you over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it is one more example just to show you that what is the another way in order to store the values without using the separate index value at each time. Okay, so for this you can see here how it has been done. Instead of declaring the variable directly, they have taken the type, the name of the variable followed by the square bracket without the size here. Okay, so equal to symbol has been used followed by the square brackets here. So followed by the, concentrate on this statement, only this statement. So followed by the square brackets here. So this is the another way. So what we did in the earlier example, we have first mentioned the size, and then by taking the each index value separately, that is from 0 to 11, we have stored all these values separately over there. Right. So one more, the best way or the efficient way that you can use in order to store the values is you can directly take the array declaration equal to symbol, and within the flower braces all the values that you want to store, right? So automatically what does the compiler is going to do here? It is going to consider the array size based upon the elements that you have included within this flower bracket separated by the comma here. So how many elements are there?
12.
12 elements are there, right? So it is going to consider the size as a 12, and all the elements are within these flower bases are going to be stored as usual, right? That is, the first value will be stored with the index value 0, 1, 2, and so on. So storing the values is going to remain same no matter whichever the method that you use. So if you use the earlier method that we have discussed, the same way of the storing the values is going to be considered. If you use in this way also, it is going to consider the same way, right? So this is the another way, just to make you understand that what are the possible ways that you can store the values into the arrays. These examples has been demonstrated here. Okay. So is it clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Okay. Yes.
ma'am, there will be no limit for size, ma'am. In the means if there is empty space means
Empty space in the sense in between here.
in
Here,
square
here.
brackets, ma'am.
Well, yes, see, that's what I'm telling you. Here there is no limit. So whatever the how many values that you are going to take into these flower braces, that will be considered as a size automatically over here. So here there are the 12 values, so it is going to consider as a 12. Suppose if I include more number of the values here, like any other values. So depending upon the number of the elements or the number of the values that you take into this flower bracket, so that many elements size will be considered for this array here. This is what you were asking, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Clear.
so the rest of the thing is same here. The print statement has been used, and we are trying to fetch the which value? We are trying to fetch the value stored at the index value 3, that is 0, 1, 2, and 3. This. So the output is going to be same as with the earlier case. April has the 30 days here. The output is. So I hope everyone is clear with this plus operator. As I told you in the earlier classes as well, suppose if you are going to use the plus operator within the system.out.println, that too between the two strings, this plus operator is going to behave as a concatenation operator. Do not get confused that it is going to operate as an addition here, right? So here this is a concatenation. That means April has, this string will be concatenated with this value, that is 30, and again which is concatenated with another string as a days. So together it is going to print as a April has 30 days. Is it clear?
Yes.
So one more example is there, average. So can you write now? So at least you are familiar with how to create the arrays, how to store the values into the arrays. And I have discussed regarding the loop as well, right? So if you want to access through the every element of the array, you have to go through the loop there, right? So do I have to show you how to use the loop to print all the values? So here, instead of along with this printing, suppose if you are interested to print all the values, right? So for that, to access through the all the values from the loop, you need to go for the use the for loop. So where you need to start the loop, from which value you need to start the loop if you want to access the every element from the list, sorry, every element from the array?
0.
0, right? So then you have to put the restriction on where till where it has to traverse, right? So the one of the simplest here is, since you have taken the static array, here you can put the restriction by taking directly the number over here. That is the number of the elements here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 17 values are there, right? So I is equal to, you can take directly 17 only, less than 17. Now suppose if you take equal to, it should be less than or equal to 16 to tell the last element here, right? So here I have, since I am taking the static elements, you are able to count the number of elements here. What if you don't have the static elements? Instead, if you have created the dynamic array where you are not sure about the number of elements in the array, so in that case, what you can go for here is you can go for the one more function known as the length of the array. So you have the built-in function known as the length, which will get you the total number of the elements. So suppose if it has a 17 elements, that function will give you the, this method will give you automatically the total number of the elements from the array, right? So you can directly take this here and then increment the value of this for loop. Okay. So now what I'm just interested to print the every element of this list. So how I'm supposed to print? I'm not going to take any string value. Instead, I'm just interested to print directly the value over there. Right. So how to take it? So the name of the variable, that is array variable, I think it's same, month underscore days, into the square bracket. You have to take the iteration variable here, because each time the iteration is going to point to the 0, and month underscore days of 0 is nothing but the value that has been stored in the 0th index value. So you can see here, for every time if you increment it for the next iteration, I value becomes 1, and I value here will be filled as a 1, and month underscore days of 1 will be considered here, right? So likewise, this is going to continue until and unless I is less than the total length here. So let's see what output we'll get for this function now. There's an array here. Sorry, error here. Reach the end of the file while. One more flower bracket needs to be closed here. How many flowers brackets you have opened here? 3, right? There is a one more error here. Length. Okay. So now you can see you are able to print the all the values here, isn't it? So this is how I hope you got to know, isn't it? So this is how you are able to access the every element by using the for loop. So how to use a for loop on the array? Start with the iteration variable with the 0 and restrict it to the array variable dot length to get to the total length of the array. So this is the best way. Why? Because every time you might not know the total number of the elements to be taken static in your program. So always the best way of getting it dynamically is by using the length function on the array variable, and iteration variable has to be incremented by 1. So here what I have done, I have just yeah, tried to print out the values here, right? So now what I want you people to do is, so you can use the same array concept, you can use the loop concept to access the every element of the array. And what I want you to do is, you need to write a program to calculate the average, the sum and the average of the values from this array. You may take the same array or the any array of your choice. You can take only the 5 elements within the array. So what you are supposed to do is, you are supposed to calculate the sum of all these values along with the average of it. Can you do it? Just try it out. However, I am going to explain.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, try it out. And if how many of you are using the laptop right now? How many of you are using the laptop for the class right now? How many of you are using the laptop? So that those who are using the laptop, you can share your screen and show me the solution. How many of you are using? Okay, so at least write it down. You can tell me orally what you have written. So I'll give you the 2 minutes of time to quickly write a program to declare the array variables and store the as many elements as you want. You might take it to 3 to 4 or 5 elements. And what should be the result is the sum and the average of all those integer values. Take the array of integer type only. written. It hardly takes only 2 minutes of time. It's not that much big problem over here. At least you people understood about this program. So why?
Yes, ma'am.
So everyone is clear about it, right? So why I have shown you this example is to tell you how you'll be able to access. So the same thing you can use instead of printing here. You can use the some mathematical operations in order to calculate the sum and the average.
And initialize some variable as sum as 0 initially, ma'am.
Yes.
Then after that iteration,
You go on telling me. I will do it. So I'll take the one more variable as a sum. I'll initialize it to 0.
then inside the for loop you have sum equal to sum plus that array name.
Okay, sum
Yeah,
is equal to sum plus array name. Very good. Month
I.
underscore days of I. Very good.
Then display the sum.
I also told you to calculate the average.
Yes, ma'am. Average at finally you can do outside the loop, ma'am. Because
Yes.
average has to be sum divided by.
Very good. At the last, you have to outside the loop only. You have to calculate the average, right?
Yes.
I'll take the one more variable as a 0.
No, ma'am.
And so how to do the average calculation?
Average is equal to sum divided by that array length.
Directly. Okay. Very good. Sum divided by length. We can directly take this one.
Declare that average.
At the last, you can print the statement. Is it correct? Others? How many of you tried it? How many of you tried it? Let's see whether we are able to get the result or not. Okay. Okay, so you can see the sum value is 1387 and the average value is 81.0. Okay. So how many of you are able to write this program? How many of you have still confusion? These are the very basic programs in order to understand the array concept. How many of you are able to do that? Does anyone have any confusion? Say something, right?
No, ma'am.
Everyone are clear about these examples?
Yes,
Or,
ma'am.
or does anyone have any doubts over here? Okay. Assuming that you have understood, since if you do not wish to speak at all, then I'll not be able to understand whether you are following or not. So I have given you the sufficient amount of time to clarify your doubts. Okay. So coming to the next concept, that is the multi-dimensional array. So whatever the examples that we have so far discussed is a single dimensional array where we have stored the elements into the series. Suppose if we wish to create the multi-dimensional arrays, that is either the two-dimensional or the three-dimensional arrays. So in that case, what is the syntax to be used here? Right. The same way, instead of a single square bracket, if you have the two-dimensional array to be created, so you need to use the two square brackets followed by the rest of the things as the same. Right. So integer of the type and the name of the variable is 2d followed by the two square brackets equal to new keyword, again int the type, and here you are putting the size of the two-dimensional arrays. Suppose if you have taken these two square brackets, then it is the two rows. The first square bracket is going to represent the rows value, and the second bracket is going to represent the column values. For example, if here in this case it has taken 4 and 5, means it will take the 4 rows. You can see here 1, 2, 3 and 4 rows, and how many columns it is going to consider? 1, 2, 3, 4 and the 5. Right. So do remember that the first value is going to represent the number of the rows that you are going to take, and the second value is going to represent the number of the columns here in case of two-dimensional array. Okay. So how it is going to access, as in case with the earlier case, that is where we have used the single dimensional array. So if we are going to take the two-dimensional arrays, so in that case, how the indexing value is going to be considered, that is represented over this figure. So please concentrate little bit on this in order to understand the indexing values that is going to be used if you use the two-dimensional arrays here. Correct? So always the first row is going to start with a 0, and first column is also going to begin with a 0. Right. So that means if it is a 0, 0, it is going to be the first element from the first row as well as the first column here. Right. So that means this entire is the first row with the index value 0, and this entire structure vertically is the first column with the index value 0. So each cell, this is going to represent the one value from the that particular row and column. So that means this first cell is going to represent the first row and the first column with the index value 0, 0. So this is the first row with the second column, where you can see the, if I say first, it is the index value 0 only. Do not get confused here. Okay, so as I told you, always the indexing is going to begin with a 0. Either it may be the single dimensional array or the multi-dimensional array. So the array indexing is going to begin with the 0 itself. So in this case, the row indexing, this is start with 0, and column indexing will start with 0 here. Right. So if you say that you are representing this cell, so which is the second element from the first row, that is the first row in the sense 0, and the second element in the sense the first column, that is the first column, that is the 1 index value. Right. So similarly, first row, this is column index value with 2, that is the third column. Don't worry, it is the second to index value with the 2, which is the third column. Right. So this is the fourth column with the first row, that is 0 index value, and the 3. Similarly, 0 and 4. Right. So it is going to increment as a 1 for the second row. So here you can see all these first values within this row is a 1. That is the index value with a 1, which is the second row. And the values of the columns are going to increment as it moves to the righter position, which increments the column number over here. The column number for this is 0. The column number is 1 here. Column number is 2 here. Column number is 3 and 4 here. Right. So as in case, if you increase this way, the rows, the row value is going to be incremented. If you increment, increase or go to the horizontally, the column values will be incremented. If you go vertically, the rows values will be incremented. Got an idea how the indexing is done? you need to understand how the indexing is done. Then you will be able to store and access the values perfectly if you go for using the two-dimensional array. So this is the most probable matrix that is used for storing the matrix. Sorry, probable array, two-dimensional array for storing the matrix. If you want to do any mathematical operation on the matrix, you require to use the two-dimensional array. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Let's see the example here. So let's concentrate what has been done here. The same way the two-dimensional array has been created, and in order to store the values into it, right? So suppose if you want to store it manually, you need to take the all the elements. So how many elements you will be able to store here? If it is a 4 cross 5 matrix, so how many values you will be able to store? You will be able to store the 20 values in it, for which you need to separately take if if you want to store them manually, like int of 0 1 0 2 0 3, like this, right? So instead of going that, you can go for using the for loop in order to store the values, or as well as in order to get the values from it. So as did in this example here. So concentrate little bit here how to store the values into two-dimensional array and how to get the or print the values from the two-dimensional array here. So since it is a two-dimensional array, you require the two for loops. So in the earlier example, it was the single dimensional array for which you used only the one loop. But here it is a two-dimensional array, for that reason you are using the two loops here, right? So if you are using the two loops, means two iteration variable is required here, and and one more integer value in order to store the values here, right? So what has been done here in the first, how does this loop is going to work? Can anyone tell me? So two for loops, in the sense it is a nested for loop. Do not get confused here. It is, I am going to explain you, put a little bit concentration here, right? So it is going to start with this first for loop, right? So for the first for loop, I value for the first iteration is 0, correct? So then it will go to the next for loop, for which the j value is 0, and then it will enter into this for loop body, that is 2d of ij. So I and j values for the first iteration are 0 0, right? So 2d of 0 0 is equal to k value is 0. That means the first element is stored as a 0 there. Okay, so in the next case, for the next iteration, so it will not go for the outer for loop. Why? It will stick to the inner for loop until and unless the all the iterations of the j value will be completed for the I is equal to 0. Okay, so I'll just write it out with a separate notepad, then it will be clear for you. Okay, so for the first iteration, when I is equal to 0, so for this, the j is equal to 0, right? So that will be considered. So instead of going to the next iteration of the outer for loop, here itself it is going to increment j to the 1, right? So it will check the condition whether j is less than 5 at this time. Yes, right? So then what will be value for this now? It is going to be the, I'll take simplicity for a, even though here it is 2d, I'll take the simplicity for a as a here. So 0 or 1. So this is going to be considered for the next iteration. Okay. So the value of this will be 1 here. Why? You have incremented the k value, right? So in the next time again, the j value will be incremented here. It will not go, as I told you, it will not go for the outer for loop until and unless all the iterations of this inner for loop has been completed here. So I is going to remain 0, and now j becomes 2. So 2 is less than 5? Yes. Right.
Yes.
So then what will be considered here? Array of 0 to 2. So the value of which will be 2 now. Okay. So again it will go for the next iteration of the inner for loop only. Now the j value becomes 3. Right. So 3 is less than 5. Yes. 3 is less than 5.
Yes.
Right. So array of 0 with 3 is equal to 3. Correct. So again it will go for the next iteration of the inner for loop only, where the j value now becomes 4, and it will check the condition whether j is less than 5.
Yes.
Yes. Right. So again next value will be considered here as array of 0 to 4, which will be the 4 now. Correct. So next it will go for the again the next iteration of the inner for loop only. Now at this time what happens? The j value becomes
5.
5. Whether 5 is less than 5? Whether 5 is less than 5?
No.
No, right?
No,
So,
no.
so now this iteration will be terminated, and next it will go for the next iteration of the outer for loop. So now what happens?
I is equal to 1.
Yes. Now I becomes 1 now. Correct. So next it will again go for the first iteration of the inner for loop, for which the j is 0 now. Whether 0 is less than 5?
Yes.
Yes. Right. So now
Yes.
what will be considered? A of 1. So I value is now 1. Isn't it? We are into the second iteration of the outer for loop, for which I value is 1. Right. So I of A of 1 with 0. A of 1, 0. Why j value is 0. So whatever will be the value, it is going to be considered. Now the k value is 5 here. Correct? Okay. So now what will be the j value now? J is 1. Again it will check the condition. J is less than still 5. That means what value will be considered here? Array of 1 with 1. Getting an idea, right? Yes or no? I'm just telling you,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just getting you to understand that how these two for loops are going to work when you are using it on the two-dimensional array. So this plays a very important role if you want to use the 2D array for the any mathematical operations, right? So again for the next iteration, can you tell me what will be the array indexing? Array of 1 and
1, 2.
1, 2, isn't it? So next
1,
array of
3.
1, 3. Right. So next
1,
array of
4.
1 and 4. So now tell me next what will be the value?
2, 0.
I equal to 2, ma'am.
Now I becomes
2.
correct. So what will be the array? Array of 2,
2 and 1.
not 1. Again it will start from the 0. So
0.
when you go to the next iteration of the outer for loop, next when you enter to the inner for loop, it will always begin again with the 0. Concentrate here, j is equal to 0 is there. So it is 0. Right. So it will continue until and unless the inner for loop get terminates. A of 2, 1. Correct? A of 2, 2. A of 2, 3. A of 2, 4. Correct? Yes or no? Now I
Yes.
value becomes
3.
3. So when does this outer for loop will get terminate? Once this condition fails, right? So at this time I is 3, whether 3 is still less than 4? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Now array value will be 3. A of 3 with
3,
again 0.
0.
Correct? A of 3 with 1. A of 3 with 2. A of 3 with 3. And A of 3 with 4. Okay, so now tell me, when for the next iteration, now here I becomes 4. So whether 4 is less than 4?
No.
No, right?
No, ma'am.
So now the both the loops are terminated here. And you can see here right from the I is equal to 0 to I is equal to 3. So you are able to store all the respective elements over here. And this is how this for loop is going to work. Okay. So can you tell me what will be the values of this 2D arrays? I have told you the indexing, how it will be considered by showing you the each iteration of these two loops, right? So at this time you can see here for the each iteration we have stored the value of as a k by incrementing by 1 every time over there. So can you tell me what will be the value of this here?
We get the matrix which contains from 0 to 20.
We'll see it. The name of the file 2D. Okay, so you can see here the values that has been stored in the each cell by considering k is equal to 0, and every time we have incremented it, right? So you can see the values that has been stored at the each cell 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 90. Okay. So how we are able to print it? You are able to print it in the same way again by using here this first part is to store the values into the array, right? So the second part is to print the values into the array, right? So isn't it, so here you can see here it has been concatenated with the space. Why? Because here to leave the space between the each element. And one more thing you can see here, immediately after printing the each value, one more print statement has been used without any value. Why this print statement is required? Can anyone tell me? After printing the each element, right? So how does this print statement is going to work?
Next line.
To the next line. Very good. To take the elements to the next line after completion of the first row, to make it appear to the second row, you require some new line statement to be taken. So which here in this case it has been taken with a simple system.out.println statement. So is everyone clear with this example? Is everyone clear with this example? You are able to understand how the elements are stored and how you will be able to access the elements in case of the 2D array?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So one more program has been given here. We'll see what. Okay. So in this example, can you tell me what is the difference over here while declaring the 2D array? You can see here the value of the rows has been mentioned, whereas the values of the columns has been not mentioned here, right? So in that case, this is the one more method that you can use in order to declare the what will be the values of the columns here, right? So in that case, you can see here this is not restricted to the proper square matrix, that is 4 cross 5 or 2 cross 2. Instead, you can see here there will be the 4 rows, but for each rows how many columns are there, it is not fixed. Okay, so in that case you can see here for the first row you have the how many columns? 2 columns, that is 0 and 1. For the second row you have the 2 columns. For the third row you have the 3 columns, and for the last row you have the 4 columns, right? So only the difference is over here the declaration, the rest of the things is same over here, right? So this is how I'll show you when with an output you'll get to know here. So you can see here how you are able to store the values here. So as we have put that there will be the four rows, but every time we have changed the columns to be considered here. So as in this case, you can see the columns that you have considered is different for the each row. And how you have stored the value, so depending upon the values that you have taken, you need to put the condition over here. So the rows are 4, for that's why you have taken I is less than 4, and here you don't know the what is the value over here, but instead you just know that the one value greater than the row has been taken here, right? So for that, you can see the condition is j is less than I plus 1. You can see here for the first row, the column is 1. For the second row, the column is 2. For this 2, it is 3. And for this 3, it is 4. That means every time the value of the columns is one value more than the row, right? So that's why the condition, instead of taking it to the fixed, that is that we have taken in the earlier, here it is in the case, here in this case, it is j is less than I plus 1. That means one value greater than the row. So that's why you'll be able to store the values in this way. So where you are not having the fixed value for the columns, instead whereas the rows are the 4 here, right? So for printing, say you can use for the same condition here. Okay, so is everyone clear? So try these examples, you will get to know. You have to.
Ma'am,
Yes,
in that earlier program.
this one.
Yes, ma'am. This.
Okay.
If a user want to put values into the array by himself, instead of incrementing k, how can we do that?
User reading, right? So through the keyboard, you are asking
Yes,
me
sir.
about the, yes. So we have not come across with the method that is used for reading the values through the keyboard. Right? So as we proceed with the next chapters, you will get to know that. So as in case with the scanf that you have used in the C, you might be asking the same thing here in this Java as well, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you will get to know once we proceed with the further syllabus.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So any other doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so the same thing has been explained here, the way how it is structured. Okay, so this completes your first module. I have covered almost all the concepts from your textbook. Okay, so go through it. Meanwhile, I'll give you some simple programs to be written as a part of the assignments. Okay, so or else you can say it as a practice programs along with the possible theory questions also. I'll prepare a question bank on this first module and upload it in your Google Classroom by tomorrow. Okay, so you can go through it and try to solve them so that you can become familiar with the programming as well as the concepts of the first module. Okay, so read the book. I'm not going, many of you are asking me about the notes, right? So usually I don't have habit of making the notes or creating the notes. Usually I do not recommend any of my students to read the notes. I just every one of you to go through the textbook only. So that will only gain you the knowledge. So right now you have the plenty of time, isn't it? You do not have the labs, you don't have the any other work at all, right? So make a habit of reading the textbook. As I told you, every day I might be covering only the 1 or the 2 pages from your textbook. If you read it daily, it will not be hectic for you as well. Okay, so I'm not going to give you the any notes, rather I'll just share this slide with you, but the slide is not going to help you anything at all. So slides are meant for me to just a reference to know what I have to explain you people, right? So reading a book is only the recommended by my side, along with I'll give you the question bags, so get to make you understand that what kind of questions will be asked. Okay,
Okay.
so is there anything that you want to ask?